Are you looking for a legal thriller with a transgender main character, people of color, revenge, and human exploitation? You might want to come listen to our interview with Robyn Gigl about Survivor's Guilt.
It'll come out on January 25th, which is 3 days after we premiere our episode with Robyn. So definitely check out the video episode and go out and pick up the book.
This is Written on the Edge. I'm Vance Bastion, here with my co-host, S.A. Baz Collins.
Howdy.
We're really glad you're here with us. Our guest today is Robyn Gigl. Robyn is an attorney, speaker, and activist who has been honored by the ACLU-NJ and the New Jersey Pride Network for her work on behalf of the LGBTQ+ community. Robyn is a partner at Gluck Walrath LLP in Freehold, New Jersey, where she handles complex commercial and employment litigation. She's been selected as an NJ super lawyer since 2010 and is one of the top 50 women lawyers in New Jersey in 2020 and 21. Robyn is a member of the board of directors of Garden State Equality, New Jersey's largest LGBTQ+ civil rights organization. She's a graduate of Stonehill College and Villanova University School of Law, a frequent lecturer on diversity issues. She lives in New Jersey, where she continues to practice law by day and work on her next novel by night. And fortunately for us bibliophiles, she has a pretty boring social life. Robyn, welcome to the show.
Good morning, guys. Great to be back. Good to see you again.
It's lovely having you back.
So for the folks who haven't heard your first interview, give us just a really quick how you became an author, and then let's jump into your next book.
I write the words. Done.
Let me back up, I guess I should say. I'm a little bit older. So I've had a 40 plus year legal career before I started my writing career, but I've always wanted to be an author. And I started my first novel or attempt at a novel about 40 years ago. That became a briefcase novel. I think I told you the last time we were together, I wrote that longhand on legal pads and everything else. And got put away. And then after I had transitioned, I'm a transgender woman. After I transitioned in 2009, I was living by myself. My kids were grown and I had some time. And so I started writing again. I had a manuscript that I finished that was not published. The world will thank me for that. And then in 2014, I started By Way of Sorrow, and that was acquired by Kensington in 2018. So that's how I got to where I am.
Very awesome. Now, do we need to give everyone a preface into who Erin Mccabe is before we talk about book two?
Sure. Erin Mccabe is a New Jersey criminal defense lawyer. She also happens to be a transgender woman. Go figure where I came up with that idea.
Yeah,
right?
I know.
Writing what you know, just writing what you know.
And she and her partner, Dwayne Swisher, who is an African-American male and a former FBI agent, have formed a law partnership where they do criminal defense work. So that's who Erin and Dwayne are.
Awesome. So Survivor's Guilt, book two. Has a lot of topics to. Oh, you
Yay!
brought it! Yay!
Book cover! Yay!
Awesome. That's a gorgeous cover, by the way.
It is. I had nothing to do with it, but I absolutely love it. And it actually has a tie-in to what goes on in the book. So it's good.
Oh, excellent. Excellent.
All right. So let's talk about what we can, understanding that it's a legal thriller. So there are going to be a bucket of spoilers we can't go anywhere near.
Yeah. So Survivor's Guilt is, when it opens, it's Erin is going through a lot in her life. She's broken up with her boyfriend. A client of hers that they're on trial has been murdered. And her mother has breast cancer. So there's a lot going on in her life. But the central story of the book is that Charles Parsons, a wealthy New Jersey businessman, is found dead with a single gunshot wound to his head. Initially, it looks like a suicide. The gun is there. He's dead. Single bullet wound to the head. The investigators continue digging, and they come up with a recording that looks like it shows that it was actually murder committed by his adopted daughter, Ann Parsons. Ann Parsons pleads guilty, and then the detective who's investigating the case is not convinced, even though Ann has pled guilty, that she did it. And he secretly meets with Erin, who he knows from cases that they had together when Erin was a public defender, and convinces her to look into it. And she and Dwayne start looking into it, convinced that, woman's pled guilty. There's a recording that implicates her. Why are we doing this? But they do it anyway. And as they do, the pieces no longer start to fit. And they get involved in the case. And unlike my first book, By Way of Sorrow, Survivor's Guilt deals a lot with the courtroom. There's an actual trial. They get Ann to withdraw her guilty plea, and I go through how you do that in the legal world. Even though you've pled guilty, you can withdraw your plea before you're sentenced. And so there's that action, and then there's the action of the trial, because now she's withdrawn her plea and she has to go to trial. And so there's a lot of trial stuff that goes on in this book as opposed to By Way of Sorrow. And of course, there's a lot of machinations going on outside the courtroom as well, with the bad guys trying to stop Ann from telling what happened, etc.
So just pulling this from the blurb, I'm not spoiling anything in the plot, but human exploitation and revenge are part of the fun.
They are. So it is a story about sexual abuse, about human trafficking, about revenge, as you said. And it's not explicit in any way, except for some courtroom testimony towards the end of the book. But it's there. It's the backstory. And it's funny because when Kensington acquired By Way of Sorrow, they signed me to a 2-book deal. And so I had book 1, By Way of Sorrow, but I didn't have book 2. And in the publishing world, when they say, okay, we'll publish your second novel, well, they won't publish it until they have a synopsis of it and they see it and they know they want to actually do it. So what happened was I started working on the synopsis in probably March, April of 2019. I was trying to come up with the idea. I had to turn it in by Labor Day, what the synopsis of book 2 was going to be. And I had gone to the New Jersey Bar Association meeting in Atlantic City. That's when we still had meetings in person. You remember those things, don't you?
I do.
The before time.
Yes. And I attended a seminar on human trafficking that was given by a friend of mine who's a lawyer, very active in that community. And I was fascinated by it. And so I started to say, well, how can I, maybe I can weave this into a book. And I think when people read the book, there's going to be shades of Jeffrey Epstein that people say, but I actually started to come up with the idea before he was arrested in July of 2019. And I was I won't say that, his story, his backstory didn't figure into my thinking, but it was what took place back in the early 2000s when he was charged in Florida and then got this sweetheart deal. That's what I was focusing on when I was doing my research and coming up with the synopsis. It just so happened that right as I was finishing my synopsis and ready to turn it into Kensington, he got arrested. So it wasn't what happened to him after his arrest and the new charges and everything else. What I wanted to play on was how that power that he had, the money, the influence, all of that, and those horrendous charges and the allegations that were leveled against him in the early 2000s all kind of went away because of his power, influence, and the people he knew. And that's what I wanted to focus on. And so there is human trafficking, there is abuse, there is definitely revenge. Revenge is a big element of this story. And who's getting it and why is part of the mystery.
And can I just say that, for people who say, oh, it's a courtroom drama kind of thing, and they may think may not be so exciting. I've gone down a rabbit hole on YouTube. There's some wacky stuff that happens in courtrooms. I don't know if people have noticed it, but wow, that's all I have to say.
Yeah, and Baz, while I said that this is really more focused on courtroom than by way of sorrow,
Right.
it's not.
You're not stuck there. Yeah.
It's not just set in the courtroom. There's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of moving pieces. You're trying to figure out who's doing what, why, who they are, at the same time that the trial is going on, and all these things are influencing trial strategy as they're happening.
Well, and Dwayne is an investigator, so in order to follow his storyline, you have to kind of be out of the courtroom, don't you?
Well, Dwayne is a lawyer.
Oh, okay.
But he is also a former FBI agent.
Right,
so
that's where I got that.
He's got the background.
And in this particular book, yes, most of Dwayne's involvement does involve the investigation and the backstory and developing their defense, and then trying to do things with law enforcement to kind of make sure that certain witnesses can testify at the time of trial.
So jumping quickly back to your inspiration for the story, was Kensington excited that all of the Epstein news stuff came up right when you submitted the synopsis?
I don't know. They didn't tell me that, but I mean, it did become one of those ripped from the headlines type of things. It wasn't intentional, but
Sure.
Sometimes fate intervenes. What can I say?
All right. Just curious. Having worked for a publisher, I have seen what goes on in the acquisition room sometimes. And so I'm like, I would have loved to have been there to see them read your synopsis and the headlines pop up at the same time.
Yeah, it's funny. And I keep saying it's funny. It's not funny. But I submitted it probably like 2 weeks after Epstein's death. So again, it was like all over the news. And again, I wasn't in the room, so I don't know the reaction. But again, you've been in the business. You know that publishers like things that are timely and
hot and timely.
Topical.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very nice. Anything else you want to share about the book that will not spoil it for people? Actually, I do have questions. So Erin's got a lot of life stuff going on outside of the courtroom. How much of that do you leave for the next book, and how much have you actually investigated in this one?
So Erin's life outside the courtroom is a theme that started in By Way of Sorrow and continues. But one thing I learned about doing Survivor's Guilt that my editor very nicely told me before I started writing is that since it's not a sequel in the true sense of the word, in other words, the storyline of By Way of Sorrow doesn't continue. The characters continue, but not the storyline. So I couldn't reveal what happened in By Way of Sorrow in Survivor's Guilt, because then nobody who reads Survivor's Guilt and hadn't read By Way of Sorrow will go out and buy it. So, so you can't reveal those plots. But Erin's storyline, I wanted to continue to develop. And so you have to tell the backstory again a little bit, how, the relationship with Mark and how that developed and why it's on hiatus at the start of the book. But I want a character that is not one-dimensional. She's not just a transgender criminal defense lawyer. She's a human being. Mm-hmm. She's got a life. She's got parents. She's got friends. She's got family.
She's got bills.
Yeah, exactly. And I wanted people to see the human side of this character.
Sure.
And in particular, because I'm writing a character who is transgender. So I am really trying to help educate the public in terms of what it means to be transgender, what it, it's life is like for certain people in terms of the challenges that they face because of who they are. So that is important to me. I don't want it ever to assume, the storyline. This is a legal thriller. I want the straightest cisgender person to be able to pick this up and read it and say, oh, this is a good story. I like it. But by the same token, if I give them a little bit of a backstory, if I give them a little bit of an education as to what it means to be transgender and what it's like for a transgender person, and this is just, again, one transgender person who happens to be very privileged. She's white, she's an attorney, so she's got a lot of things that a lot of transgender people don't have. She has things going for her. So it's just one storyline. But again, I hope that her personal life, her story educates people. And at the same time, I hope it rounds out the book, because I want people to like the characters. I want people to like Erin and Dwayne and to be rooting for them, not just because they're lawyers in a courtroom drama, but because, hey, these are people that I could be friends with.
Perfect.
As Barack Obama said, you could have a beer with them.
Exactly. And while you're at it, here, hold my beer. I got a case to solve.
So back to my other question then, is there anything else about the novel you want people to know?
I think that was probably just it. This is a story. Yes, the second half of it is pretty much set, centers on the courtroom. I won't say set in the courtroom, centers on the courtroom and what's going on in the courtroom with all these other events spinning around it. But it is also a story of human beings, not only Erin, but in this case, Ann Parsons and her backstory and what's happened to her and how she has survived, and other people who have gone through the same or similar trauma to Ann and how they've survived, hence the title, Survivor's Guilt. Ann has pled guilty, but now has retracted it. So I wanted, I didn't want to go into gory detail about sexual abuse, and that's not my intent, or human trafficking. But I wanted people to know that this is real. It exists. It's horrible. And even when we have these horrible crimes and these horrible things, if you have money and power and influence, you can sometimes avoid justice.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant.
Ouch, but excellent. But ouch, but excellent.
Okay, so for a little bit of fun, I'm going back to your bio. This super lawyer thing, does it have a logo, and do you have to change in the telephone booth when you have to go save the world?
And
when does the superhero movie come out?
I'd lift up my shirt, Baz, but I don't have my uniform on today.
Okay. Vance is adding this to our strategizing. Don't let Baz go off script.
Super is one of those things that, somebody got a brilliant idea to promote lawyers and
there you go. Well, why not?
Yeah. And don't ask me why I'm picked as a super lawyer, but I am. So
when he read that in the bio, that was the thing that popped in my head. I'm like, I wonder if she has to change in a telephone booth.
No, but as soon as we're done, I'm flying off to rescue.
Oh, okay. Well,
Nice. Oh, my goodness gracious. Yeah, maybe we don't have to.
Vance is wondering how we ended up in this part of the garden.
Yeah, kind of. But you know what? I'm going to pull us back with a little mid-call. So we at Written on the Edge are proud to introduce you to new media by queer content creators. If you are enjoying learning about these artists, please like and subscribe so you get alerts for new episodes. And Baz has something to show you about our merchandise.
Yes. The first one is I'm wearing one of our shirts, and I know this is really stupid on video, but that's the best I could do. And that's the what I'm calling the classic pride. It's like old paintings that I put funny things that they're saying on them. So that's that line. This is a graphic shirt, which is like a full complete picture on the front. And it's really light. It's kind of like I was explaining to Vance, it's kind of like the wicking sports kind of shirts that that are really light to wear and very comfortable. It's along that kind of line for the fabric. And then I got this from my husband. It's from the Pride series. This is Gore Vidal's Pride for Red, and it is the saying that says, style is knowing who you are and what you want to say and not giving a damn. So I use a quote from the author on each one of these images, and there's one for each color of our Pride flag. So go check those out. This is really nice. It's lovely, soft cotton material, and I'm really happy with it. So, and I also ordered an for my sister who's a baker, and it came out beautiful as well. So just there, we've got product, we've got swag. Go pick your favorite.
Yes, that I didn't have one of those on for the show.
See?
No.
See?
No. But I know in the past we've said
send me your book cover. I'll make a shirt for you, and you can walk around like a sandwich girl.
There you go. And I know in the past we've said on our Redbubble store, which helps nobody. So if you go to wrotepodcast.com, we've got links right at the top that'll take you to that store and or our current author guest's book.
There you go.
Well, what have you got coming up next? You got book 2, and then it was part of a 2-book contract. So what's on the horizon?
Well, in November of 2021, Kensington acquired books 3 and 4 of the Erin Mccabe series.
Yay.
Congratulations. Thank you. And as it was with book 2, I had to do a synopsis of book 3 and ship it off to them so that they'd say, yeah, I guess we'll keep this going. So I'm in the process right now of writing book 3. It's got a tentative working title of Remain Silent.
Ooh.
And so, Erin and Dwayne are back at it again. And that one is hopefully going to come out sometime in 2023.
That's awesome.
And book 4, not a clue yet, but they bought it. So I got to come up with something.
You're walking outside going, where's it going to drop so I know what it's about?
I actually do have an idea, but I'm still trying to write book 3. So I'm just putting idea on the side.
You got time.
Yeah.
All right. Well, which social would you like people to follow you on?
Probably Twitter is the best. I since the last time I saw you folks, I kind of opened a Facebook author account, but that's as far as it went. I am not a Facebook person. Twitter is where
the less Zuckerberg has on you, the better.
Exactly. I am on Instagram, but again, that's not my. I'm like old. I'm still trying to figure out pen and paper. It's like all these. I am not.
Leave it to the children.
Illiterate. But, when I need help, I call one of my kids and say,
"Yeah, there you go."
And they say, "Turn it off and turn it back on."
Well, and given that you're an author and a lawyer and you live in the words world, Twitter is the better platform for you because its primary focus was words, not pictures.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so that's where people will find me.
Perfect. And folks, it's ROBYNGIGL.
Thank you.
At the Twitters.
Yeah.
All right. Any final words of wisdom?
No, if folks are in New Jersey, I'm actually going to try to do a live appearance on the 29th.
What are those? You must tell us what those are.
The only live appearance I did for By Way of Sorrow, by the way, was at the Wisconsin Library Association in November. And that was that lull where before Omicron.
We thought maybe we could get away.
There might be hope.
Yes. Yeah. So I 2 weeks from today, I'm scheduled to do a live event at the Cranford Community Center. It's being put on by the Cranford Public Library and some other folks in Cranford. For those of you who haven't read By Way of Sorrow or obviously Survivor's Guilt isn't out yet, but Erin and Dwayne's law office is located in Cranford, New Jersey.
Nice.
And so the folks at Cranford was like, yeah, we want to do something for you. So I'm going to do a live event there Saturday the 29th at 1 o'clock at the Cranford Community Center. And then I will have a virtual event on Thursday, February 10th in the evening. The time hasn't been set yet, but that's with Garden State Equality and the Asbury Co-op, which is an independent bookstore in Asbury Park, New Jersey. Nice. They are sponsoring that. So those are my immediate plans for now.
All right. And you'll be re-announcing those on the Twitter?
I will.
Perfect. All right, folks. Written on the Edges, produced by Real Ravens Media. For our disclaimers, links to social media, our listen stations, or sign up as a guest, visit www.rotepodcast.com. No, I do not do auctions, but maybe I should. If you enjoy learning about new artists, please like and subscribe so you get the alerts for new episodes. We'd like to extend a big thank you to Robyn Gigl for being with us. Robyn, thank you for coming back. Thank you for writing your second book. And thank you for getting the next 2 contracts.
Sold!
Thank you for having me. It's been great. And Vance, if you don't do auctions, you should do the end of pharmaceutical commercials.
Ooh. Yeah, there you go.
Sign me up.
There you go.
Sign me up. All right, folks. Head over to Amazon and or your favorite bookstore, pre-order Survivor's Guilt. I'm sorry, we didn't actually ask you for the actual release date.
It is coming out on Tuesday, January 25th.
Perfect. All right, folks, go sign up now. Pre-order because you'll have it in 4 days from the release of this episode. All right,
Good
Robyn,
reason to
thank
buy.
you. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. And everybody, we love you. Stay safe. Stay warm if you're in a cold climate. Stay cool if you're in a hot climate. Stay away from Omicron. We'll talk to you all again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, what's that? Closing time. The bums rush in melody, dear.